So as we're taping this, Miami's 48-28. Philly and Milwaukee are 46-28 playing tonight. The Celtics dropped to 47-29. There was a moment in Sunday, second quarter, and Marcelo and I taped. We didn't know Rob Williams was hurt. Second quarter, Minnesota really brought it that game. Did you see? Were you there at that game?
I was working at the broadcast for NBC, but yeah, I was watching.
Yeah, Minnesota was into it. They wanted it. Towns was talking shit. They were going at him, and it was a pretty close first quarter. And then the Celtics did what they always do is lately, they completely demolished them in the second quarter. And I'm watching, I'm going like, this team's going to make the finals. Like we are watching, not to compare them to the Jordan, Pippen, Grant Bulls, because they had Jordan, obviously, but the same kind of like the athleticism, every shot contested, the fact that Tatum is so comfortable. I was just like, I really believe in this. And then Rob Williams gets hurt.
Devastating. Like that second quarter against Minnesota, it's like they said to the Wolves, like, all right, we had a little bit of fun the first. You had scored 30 points. Here's 19 in the second quarter. We commit 7 turnovers in the first quarter. Here's 1 for the rest of the game. Like they just, It's like they toy with teams now. It's wild. But
yes,
like, I don't know how you recover from losing Rob, at least not at a championship level. Like they'll still win a first round series. They can beat Chicago and they can beat Cleveland and they can beat Toronto. They can beat a lot of teams without Rob Williams. But when you get to like Milwaukee and Philadelphia and Miami and the top teams in the Eastern Conference, you're going to need that guy. Now, I think they'll still compete for one of those top 3 seeds because, like, I assume that Ime Udoka is going to plug Al Horford in at 5, where he played all last year in Oklahoma City, plug Grant Williams in at 4, and use Daniel Tice as the guy coming off the bench. Al and Grant starting, they're still able to do what they do defensively. The bedrock of what they do defensively is switching everything. That's what makes them so dangerous, that 1 can guard 5 and 5 can guard 1, and everybody in between can mix and match. They'll still be able to do that because Al can switch. Grant's really good. Like Grant, he's not going to win most improved, but he should be on a list somewhere. Like he's really become excellent. He's an excellent player for this team. So they'll be fine there. It's just, I watched the Monday night game, and Pascal Siakam, they're treating Pascal Siakam like he's Russell Westbrook out there. They're playing like this shell in the paint, and they're daring Siakam to shoot. And he's just driving right into the middle of them. And not once did Siakam put his head up. If Rob Williams is there, Siakam's head's up. Siakam's looking around to see where Rob Williams is and if he's going to block his shot. They scored 66 points in the paint. Toronto did. That's going to become a problem for the Celtics because Rob, he's one of like a handful of guys, like Rudy Gobert's on that list, Embiid's on that list. When he's in the game, you got to account for him. And the Celtics don't have anybody that can replace that. On top of that, when you start to play the physical teams, like the Miamis and the Milwaukees and the Philadelphias, someone's getting into foul trouble there. And there's nobody else on that bench. You got 3 guys now in your front court with Al, Grant, and Tice. There's nobody else. You're going to have to play small ball and start to reinvent yourself a little bit if these guys get into foul trouble. Move Jalen back up into a 4 spot kind of role. So they're going to change. And I don't think that change is going to really hit them until they get to the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, the thing they lose is the invincibility. Because as you said, like they were so malleable with the different lineups. That was what I loved about this team. They could really play any style. Like, who are we playing tonight? All right, we can do that. In the White, even though White hasn't shot it that well, at least he allowed them to finally go small. The Pritchard started coming. Look, the glass half full of me side says that Rob wasn't one of their best 3 players. And if you still have your best 3, I can't count you out. But then the glass half empty is like, but Rob did all the, like, really it was a top 4. It wasn't a top 3. And what made that 4 special together was just how athletic and ridiculous they were. I mean, the contested shots, is that a stat? Can I look that up?
Yeah.
Is that on like NBA.com? The contested shots, it's, oh my God, Minnesota. I mean, Russell was like, I'm out of this game. Like, I'm just like, Russell had 3 points, I think. He wanted, by the third quarter, he wanted no part of it. But so they lose that. I do think if they use Tice the way they used Williams, like basically put him on the weak shooter and having him kind of more on the baseline, jumping out to protect versus how he was used 2 years ago, maybe that'll be a little better. But yeah, the foul trouble thing's an issue. Really, it depends on Tatum to me because Tatum's not the same guy. And Russell and I talked about it on Sunday, but like the little brother era is over. He's going into these games now and he really thinks he's better than the people on the court. He doesn't care who they are. There's no reverence from him. There's no, oh my God, what an honor to trade some haymakers with you. Like he really thinks he's the best guy now. So I think that matters.
He said, like, I didn't put this in my story, but he said to, like, he works with Drew Hanlon, and Joel Embiid works with Drew Hanlon too, the skills coach. And like he called Drew one day when Drew was with Embiid. He didn't know it, but before he got off the phone, like he made Drew put it on speakerphone and say to Embiid, "You better win MVP this year because it's mine next year." Like his confidence is like next level at this point. And a lot of that is going to the basket. Like you saw this, like a lot of times recent years, he'd settle for threes or pull up mid-range Kobe jump shots. He's going right to the rim.
But don't you feel like it really does seem like it's slowed down for him? And you see this sometimes. I just feel like he knows before he does whatever he's going to do, how it's going to turn out. I don't know how to describe it. I just feel like he has the ball now and you can see him solving whatever it is. And he's like, oh, they're going to do this. So I'm going to throw it to the guy in the corner, or this guy's going to come here. I'm going to wait. And then I'm just going to go around him and get to the hoop. And it's honestly looks like OKC Durant is the earlier version, like the 2010, 11, 12, when Durant just all of a sudden he was averaging 30 a game and he led the league in scoring. And it was like, oh, is this just who he is? I think this is who Tatum is. I don't feel like this is a hot streak.
No, it's not a hot streak. I mean, he's top 5. I think since January 1st, top 5 in fourth quarter scoring, top 10 in overall scoring. Like these numbers they're not an aberration. He's going next year, if this pace continues, he'll be a 30-point per game scorer competing for the scoring title. He'll do that for the rest of his prime years.
It's been 30 points since since January 1st?
Whenever they went on that streak, yeah. They went on that run of games. To me though, like Tatum, obviously huge. Like Smart to me is like the wild card. Smart offensively is the wild card. I mean, I love watching Smart against like Toronto because like it felt like Smart was like shedding everything he had worked on all season. Be like, there's nobody around me. I'm going to shoot 25 times in this game. I'm going to take 11 threes and do old Marcus Smart stuff for that game. But he's been so good. Like our text message should never be released because we were so far off on so many things early on in this season. Like Ime Udoka, ready to fire him like mid-December.
Well, it was more like what is this guy doing? How many times can you call out your guys? And it turned out he was a genius. It was a complete right strategy. He made all those guys like way tougher. I didn't understand what he was doing.
That team had clearly atrophied under Brad Stevens. Like it takes nothing away from Brad and what he did, but like they were just too used to a soft touch and they couldn't advance any further with that soft touch. So Ime, like this is why like Monty Williams is going to win Coach of the Year. He'll get my vote. He'll get everybody's vote. He'll deserve it. But I think Ime's number 2 on that list, ahead of guys like Spoelstra and Taylor Jenkins and Billy Donovan. And the argument against him is often, well, they only were good for like the last 3 months of the season. No. He was coaching his ass off in the first 2 months of the season, breaking them of all the shitty habits that they had coming into the season.
Right.
So like he deserves credit for not backing off that. Not like, I mean, you and I was doing it on NBC like every night. Like every night I'm going out there being like, is Ime going to tattoo Tatum, Brown, Smart? Who is he going to go after this game? And why does he keep doing it? But he knew it worked, and it did work. And by early January, they came together and all coalesced, and he deserves
I respected what he was doing, and I also thought it was insane because I was just like, you can't do this with how soft the league is now. You can't call these guys out. These guys are all individual brands. They're going to turn on him, and this is going to be a disaster. And there was a couple moments in those first 50 games when I don't want to say they were quitting on him, but it felt like they were a little bit broken. And I think the trades, look, you're around the team more than I am, but it did seem like it helped to get Schroeder out of there. I don't know if he was Mr. Popularity. And it also helped from Smart's standpoint because then he became the true point guard. It's my team now. And he really embraced it. But the calibration of guys weren't right. You had Richardson in there. He wanted to play. He played well. My dad really liked him. But he was kind of thrown off the rotation. Pritchard wasn't playing enough because of Schroeder. And now it seems like everybody likes each other. But sometimes sports is weird.
Danny Ainge is a great GM. But as I look back now, he probably needed to go too. And Brad needed to take that job because Danny never would have included a first-round pick to get off Kemba Walker. Would not have done it. And Brad did. And I know everybody's excited about Alperen Sengun, but whatever. Like, he got Horford back, and Horford's been huge for this team all season long.
Well, Brad coached Kemba, so I think he was under the hood with the car.
Yeah, but Danny also never would have thrown in the draft consideration to get Derek White. I don't believe that. I don't believe he would have traded picks to get Derek White to Boston. Derek White's been huge for them. Both ends of the floor. A perfect fit with that team. So, like, Brad needed to be out of the coaching box. Danny, for this team, kind of needed to be out of the GM box, and everybody's in their right slot, which I never thought was true. Like, you asked me in December, I thought everybody should be fired. They should have brought in Sam Presti to just fire everybody and do the whole thing over again.
I was heading that way because neither you or I wanted to do the Tatum Brown, let's pick one. We were just like, that's the last resort. We're 2 years away from even really seriously considering that. That cannot be the answer to just be like, well, let's just trade a top 25 guy. No.